Welcome back to day 4 of the garden prep challenge. I'm finally going to work a little bit in the greenhouse today, and I thought I would just give you a glimpse of my list of what I have planned to tackle in this area. There's a few more things to set up in here. There's a little bit of cleanup to do, but otherwise it's going to be pretty straightforward. I probably only have 2 or 3 days worth of work till this is completely done. But before I can get started, I have to pick up from the event that we had this past weekend. We had a harvest party here, so I just need to put away some of the remnants of that. And I wanted to tell you guys a little bit more about this structure because I haven't really talked about it much on here yet. So I'm sure that there will be lots of questions. It is a 16-foot wide by 40-foot long greenhouse. I can't remember the height of the center, but it's really, really great size. And we got it from Grower Solution. I will put a link in the description of this video to their website. I actually have a discount code from them for anybody, for anything on their website, not just greenhouses. It is where we have our irrigation from, our landscape fabric, and they have pretty much anything garden related that you would need. Now, I have made videos in the past about how to turn your grass lawn into a garden plot, 3 different methods to do it, and all of those are no-till methods. You can also obviously till it if you want to. We just don't choose to do that. We don't have access to the equipment for that. And I'll put a link to that video in the description of this video as well. But as you can see, for this plot, I am choosing to prep it and turn it into a growing space from grass simply by putting down landscape fabric. And yes, I will put this landscape fabric down. I will leave it down for the entire winter, and I will plant directly in it next spring or summertime whenever I end up putting things in, just by burning holes at that point when it's time to plant things. And I decided to do that in this space mainly for 2 reasons. Number 1, I think that smothering with landscape fabric or a tarp is the best way to completely eliminate your grass and your weed seeds. It's by far. Mulch does a great job, but landscape fabric and tarps do an even better job. And I used to prefer to use tarps because I felt like it killed things quicker than fabric did because there wasn't any water that got through it. However, silage tarps are very expensive, and really they only have that one purpose, which is to kill off before planting. Landscape fabric is definitely an investment. I also have a whole video about that, and landscape fabric is not all created equal. You have to get a quality commercial grade brand if you want it to actually work. But it does the same thing that a tarp does, and you can also leave it on during the growing season. And in a perfect world, there would be no need for landscape fabric. However, it's one of those modern conveniences that I feel like for certain seasons of life, it's a great option to have. If it's between not growing a garden because you are overwhelmed by weeds or using landscape fabric to manage it and make it a little bit more doable, then I think that that's a great option. So I don't use landscape fabric everywhere. However, in new plots, I almost always use it for the first 2 years. And in some of my more high maintenance crops, I will use it as well. But I'm just going to roll this out in the entire area. That way the grass will be completely killed off. And I probably will end up pulling it up after a year or so because we will need to do some adjustments to the grading in here. We have some gaps. It's not perfectly level on on the sides where, you know, the wooden supports are, and that's fine. That's not going to affect the ability to grow things in here, but long term it will be kind of nice if we can top off with compost and things like that and make it a little bit more level. So if you have a plot that you're going to be newly establishing or expanding, or even if you just have a current garden plot that is so unmanaged because of weeds, I highly recommend taking a little bit of time and money to invest in covering it with a more intense solution like landscape fabric during the fall, just so that it can be smothered for the entire winter time and kill off as much of those weed seeds as possible before you have kind of the urgency and the pressure of springtime being here again. Here is the greenhouse all finished on the inside now. I decided I'm just going to leave the straw bales in here. I usually use them for bedding for the chickens for the winter time, which is right next to this structure, and they'll stay actually probably more dry in here than they would being tucked kind of into the storage area of the coop. But can you guys just imagine this space full of green tomato plants all the way to the ceiling? I definitely want to do some cucumbers, some peppers. I'm so excited about the potential of this space. I think the only other major things on my list for this area, besides having Tommy get the doors installed, is I also want to put fabric down in this little patch in the back here. I haven't decided if I'm going to move that garden bed yet or just keep it there, but my thought is that I'll have kind of this fabric area back here as a landing zone for like empty pots or piles of wood chips or compost or things that I want to have available but don't necessarily want to see them front and center by the main entry. So we kept kind of this little buffer between the fence here in the back to kind of pile all of that stuff. But if you guys have any more questions for me about this structure, or if you have a similar one and you have any tips, let me know. I am just going to be kind of monitoring the temperature in here during the winter time and during the spring, so that way I know what to expect as far as usability for growing certain crops. I don't want to supplement heat in here, so what temperatures it can maintain on its own is what I'm going to be working with, at least initially. Never say never. I'm not saying we'll never put supplemental heat in here, but for now, we're just going to work with whatever it does on its own. So that's all for today. A couple more things checked off the list. You can see I did have spread rabbit manure on here initially, but I decided I would just save that for planting directly with things next spring. If I have a bunch of it, I can spread it easily to top dress beds in the main garden right now. But let me know what progress you guys have been making if you are joining the challenge, and let me know in the comments, or if you have any other questions. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great day. I will see you tomorrow.